And we are live. So let me just, I got a whole lot going on. Got some carrots on the table. I'm about to get dinner started. And I also wanted to make sure that I got in to do our deep dive for today. And let me open up my Google Docs real quick. As a matter of fact, no, I'm not supposed to be opening that up. So if you have been tapped in, and I'm going to say that you have, and first of all, welcome in. It is Thursday, May the 21st. This is our second live exploration within our literary alchemy experience that we are all going through right now here on my Substack. And so in our previous, before, was it for my notes, y'all, that I think I wrote? I don't know if I put it on it. Oh, yeah. Okay, so on our previous live, I went through, we dived into the human temple. Dived into my first post that included the human temple, and that included words that build versus words that destroy. So today we're going to do it in the same similar format. And so I'm just going to read. And while I'm reading, I'm going to read, I'm going to dive in more in between the lines of the things that I have said, and I'm going to be catching downloads throughout, and I'm going to share those. So after this, I will be posting the third installment within this exploration series, and everything. I was thinking about this earlier, something that I do want people to understand is that all of this is connected. Everything is a part of one big story, one big picture. What I'm doing for us on Substack is dividing the things up. I'm dividing everything up so that it's just easier to digest, and it's broken down into segments so that as you're like moving along, it's just easier to it's hopefully easier to follow that way, because anytime that you're like studying, exploring a new philosophy, it can be a lot. A lot of information can be a lot at one time. So when everything is unpacked and out and released and shared, it's a great idea to just reflect on the whole package as a whole and give yourself, grace with the pace of just working through everything in their broke down segment. So if you were here with us previously, what was that, last week? A few days ago? I don't know. But if you were here with us previously, on the 18th, so yeah, a few days ago, we dived into, what is literary alchemy. And again, we talked about the alchemy processes within the human temple. We talked about the divine center, the divine engine. We talked about energy resonance and you okay? We talked about energy resonance and the frequency of words and how certain words land us on within certain frequencies. So today we are going to have a read along with the personal wording systems and word alchemy post. So if you haven't read it, I'm going to read it for you right now. And if you have, this is a great idea. This is a great chance for you to follow along and take extra notes. Again, when I do these lives, there's always more coming out, which is one of the reasons why I do love to do them because, when I'm talking, it's you never know what's going to flow out. So, personal wording systems. I hinted on this before, and when I think about personal wording systems, I think about a system within a system. Um, the within the system is us being the system that the wording system is going to reside in. And within the human temple, there are many systems. The wording system is just one of them. And it is going to be definitive of not only the words that you're using, but the phrases that we're hearing, the phrases that we are repeating are going to be a part of our wording systems. The language of our home spaces is going to be a part of our wording systems. How we receive language is going to be a part of our wording systems. So our wording systems are these very important parts of our wording system is a very important part of our alchemy process within the human temple. So let's read. Let's read. All right. So it is a crazy moment to realize that you have your own self fucked up with your tongue. That was me. And it could be you after reading further. For me, when I became aware of what some of my key phrases were doing to my own self picture, it was like, boom. And it was like, even today, the work is progress to be a more intentional speaker about myself and about my life. And this path is supported by my awareness. I do feel like, I want to say something about that before I read anymore. So I do feel like a part of my own, when when you start the spiritual journey, the journey of spiritual enlightenment, um, all type of things come to the surface when you are doing the work. Uh, One thing that I realized is that it's not, I think for a lot of people, when you first really dive into the spiritual journey, like, and you're just like, okay, I'm in it. I want to dive into everything spirituality. I want to be better. I want to see my shadows. I want to see my shit. I want to know what needs to be healed. When you do that, you get shown. And when things start to come out, the spiritual, you realize that the true spiritual path is not necessarily love and light. It's not all woo woo and pixie dust and stargate. It's not all cotton candy. A lot of it is very sour. A lot of it can be prickly. A lot of it is not cute. And so for me, my personal language was something that was it's something that I realized was kind of sour. That was a sourness that I was adding to my life. It was one of those things that, like, when I became aware of it, I was like, "Ooh," it was a little off-putting. And by personal language, and we talked about personal language in the last live. So, personal language, how I talk to myself, how I talk about myself, using things like using words that break, phrases that break, like I can't, I'm broke, um, I will never. Oh, that's a huge blocker. I don't. All those phrases that are just declaring lack. I realized that I had been using a lot of those type of words, and I do feel like the way that I felt about my environment was in complete reflection of the words that I was using. Not necessarily my environment itself, because perspective is relative, right? But definitely the way that I felt about it was reflective of what I was saying about my life. So I was in this kind of at this crossroads of language. And that just looked like realizing that I was not speaking the best over my life and that I could do better. And so now today, people will find me taking a pause, because I also, I'm an Aries rising. There's that. So there is a very forward facing quick wittedness about me. I'm also, my Venus is also in Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury. This is all in my third house. So I can talk. I'm a speaker. And I had to realize that I could be quick witted and say things that were really detrimental to my story and to my reality. So being aware of that gave me the opportunity to change it up. So now I will, nowadays I like to take pauses. I like to take thoughtful pauses before I speak, because I know that there is real power in my tongue. And so I choose to use that power in a certain type of way. I choose to honor that there is power. And I feel like the pause honors the recognition of the power of tongue. So one of my superpowers is also words. Now it's like now, now today in the present, it's like I can see the energy holes in all the language spoken around me. The places where things are siphoning off, being blocked, or set on fire by a statement, a song, or a word written. And I can see the great things that words do for us too, when used for us and not against us. So, you ever said something that made your world feel really great? And that goes back to the words that build and the words that destroy. It goes back to energetic resonance that we were talking about before, because what you say can literally lift you to a different playing field, or it can bring you to one. It's almost indescribable how you can feel the effects of the words washing over you and flowing through your veins. So again, energy, everything is energy. I could zoop myself up with a statement and you can feel it. Your words are not something that are just aimlessly thrown at a dartboard. They have direction and they have direct impact on us. I think saying something beautiful about yourself is a great way to see that. It's a great way to get a visual of that. How sometimes you have to do something to boost the belief. Say something great about yourself, and sit with it. Say something great about yourself. Believe it. Sit with it in a space and just pay attention to what that does within your body. Not only lift you up physically, but they also lift you up ethereally. While we are here exploring the power of our words, I'm intentionally going to lean into more describing how we can learn and exercise our power better, for the sake of joy, happiness, and abundance. I'm here to give my people the tools, encouragement, and space to explore something more about the power within them. But I won't negate the fact that that power, when yielded, can be used both ways to either build or destroy. So checking your wording system. And that's me saying I like to I'm gonna focus on the positive, which I think is important to that's all we're gonna do here. Like we're gonna focus on positive. There is no point of us going through any type of chapter about words that can fuck you up. That's not what we're here for. The whole point is to know, okay, y'all, our words are powerful. So let's make sure that we're putting things out there that are going to honor that power, that are going to uplift, that are going to, be seeds to create a better quality of life, to help us embody a better quality of life, etc., to uplift the vibration of the earth, all of those things. I won't be teaching how to tear things down, period. All right. So your wording system is your own personal language, which becomes our directives and instructions to the divine engine. I spoke about the divine engine in my first post of this series, which is the literary alchemy and the alchemical process of the human temple. Check it out if you have not already. The thing about a system, and here I am referring to the human body system, is that it is often programmed through consistency. Think of your word input as code. Then think about how many phrases you may repeat in a day. Um, Again, supercomputer. The model in which the supercomputer is created from is, of course, the human computer. Okay. So, code. If language we input into the computer is code, then language that we input into the human temple is code as well. All right. I want you to think about it like that. So, as we're inputting language, if we are putting in the same phrases during a day, think about how that code is obviously repeating. Think about, okay, keep that thought. These phrases become a repetitious code that defines the system's character and makeup. Okay, so these phrases do become a repetitious code because the code is repeating. A repetition codes are often programming codes that define the system's character and makeup. It tells us who we are and what we are capable of and where we are going. All of the things that language tells us, all of the things that input drives. To check in with your own wording system, become an intentional self observer to you. And that means watch yourself, listen to yourself, most importantly. Or as I like to call it, or as my mama like to call it, watching your words. So you know, to unveil what your wording system is, all you need to do is watch your words. Watch your words. What are your words? What are you saying? Being present with your vocality, being present with what is coming out of your mouth. Sometimes, as well, we benefit from slowing down to really know what we are wanting to say and doing that from a grounded, seated area. That is important. That is key. That has been key for me. The slowing down gives space for intention to thrive within our words. You can also break this down into smaller segments throughout your day by using a guide, by using a check-in system. So on this post, I did add a check-in system, and this is something like simple. It's simple. But it can be, and I think it's important to make things like this simple, especially, we're living our lives, we're doing this, we're doing that. So keeping it simple. So if you have a pen or paper, you can write this down, but it's also, of course, on the post, so you can literally just go grab it. So for your wording system check-in, you're going to need a pen and paper, of course, to take notes. Setting a timer for an hour, and I will call this a intensive check-in. Write down any phrases that you repeat more than once, and this is key. But this is also about just having that listening ear, and anything that sticks out to you as well. I feel like write that down as well. Okay. So write down any phrases that you repeat more than once. Write down any phrases that stick out to you. You can also, write down, I didn't add this, but write down phrases that are emotionally sticking out too. Things, anything that you say that has a pull on the heart or the gut, write that down. You can also record yourself for an hour. Listen to the playback and take notes of anything that stands out. So, recording is a great idea, I think, for anybody who has a life, which all of us do. Um, Press that recorder, set the timer. At the end of it, and in your leisure, go back and listen and then take notes. So that's your check-in, and that is a step towards just, that is an intentional step of just being able to see where you are with your regular language. What are the things that are just pouring out of your mouth without you thinking about it? That is important too. Sometimes when you are just sitting and writing it down, you can just, sometimes it you may get performative. Performativeness may try to sneak into the chat. Okay. But recording is, it can be like an out of sight, out of mind type thing. And you may get a more authentic picture of your word system. So everything is energy. All right. Everything is energy. One of my favorite parts. Everything is energy, and energy has resonance, and words carry certain energies. And now we're talking about words that build versus words that destroy. I know I said earlier that we talked about this last week, but we didn't. I was a little ahead of myself because I was excited. So let me just pull it up. So we did talk about the human temple, of course, and we looked at that beautiful, beautiful map, that beautiful visualization of literary alchemy, just showing words, input and output, and how that was churning into the alchemy engine, or as I call it, the divine engine, to mix and mingle everything and create this reality that we're living in. And we talked about the inner processes. We talked a lot last week. So, talking about progression, right, and how everything fits together. On the last live, and this exploration begins about talking about the unseen. We started off in this process about talking about what we can't see. But what we know that's there, we started talking about everything in the background, and it's really important that we recognize that part of the journey. Uh, Everything starting kind of in darkness and behind the scenes of what is seen. And here we are progressing into like tangible. we're progressing into what our actual system is, to what the language is that we're speaking. We're progressing into things we can hear and we can see. So that's important. The progression of it all is important and something that I want to point out. So when language develops from a space of nothing, as do, as does everything else, our language, our wording, our syntax, all of these things are developing from the ether, from the void. They're coming out from nothingness that is still somethingness, and they're coming into this reality. So the whole process of our learning and exploration is mirroring how the input comes and mixes in and becomes like output. And I think that's really cool. So everything is energy, and energy has resonance, and words carry certain energies. Resonance energy is a quantum mechanical concept in chemistry, representing the stability gained by a molecule when electrons are delocalized across multiple Lewis structures. Resonance with energy is the energy difference between the actual ground state of a molecule and its most stable theoretical Lewis contributor. I know that probably may sound like chalk going across the chalkboard to you. What does it mean? It means a higher resonance energy, a higher frequency energy. A higher resonance energy means the molecule is more stable and less reactive. Put simply, higher resonating energies, or for the sake of what we're exploring, higher energetic words can create a more stable reality outcome. This is this is big. This is something I want us to clamp onto. All right. Higher resonating energies. Higher energetic words can create a more stable reality outcome. On the other side of the coin, lower energetic words would create outcomes in opposition of that. So, high energetic words, building a house with brick. Lower energetic words, building a house with sand. So, I do have a visualization to help you understand what more I mean by this. It is on the post. Please save that chart. And you can just see just how we would look at a chakra energy chart, just how we would look at an emotional energy chart. This is the same. So like words and statements like I am love are going to be up there in the 700 hertz. That's gonna give us, to the enlightenment energy statements. And on the other side of that, statements like it's impossible, why me, I give up, I feel powerless, that has us in the lower frequencies, the less stable frequencies, in line with the same frequency of shame and guilt and apathy, and down there with angry and worried. So everything that we say lands us somewhere energetically. What you say, you signal. What you signal, you attract. Choose words that raise your frequency. And then something that is, I mean, I'm going to flip this actually because I want to point at something. Okay, so what I want you to recognize is you see these lower frequencies. You see how contracted that wave is, and the higher frequencies. You see how expansive those waves are. You see how even each wave are. You see how stable that frequency is. The frequency of the wave, the uh, the shape of the wave. It's just stable. Um, each wave is the same. And where here it looks chaotic. Like it literally looks like chaos and peace. Chaos and peace. Higher frequencies, more coherent, stable, expansive energy, expanding, expanding. Lower frequencies, less coherent, unstable, contractive, contractive. All right, so that's important. And again, that's a great chart for you to save, add it to your notes. So we are always riding within the waves of energy. We are in the waters, literally right now, riding some type of wave of energy. Which waves we are riding on depend on our output and where we consciously and unconsciously tell ourselves that we want to be or feel like we deserve to be. So, our activity, if you've not done it, my activity to accompany this portion of the experience is to take the word tracking chart that you did, hopefully, in the first part and compare those frequent statements with the information on the energetic resonance chart. Okay. So take your words, your frequently said words that we did when we were recording and we were figuring out what our wording system was, and compare it with the chart. Where are you landing? Where are you landing? I would love to hear about where you're landing. I would love to hear about just how your deep dive is going into your own wording system. And let me just say, while we're doing this, this is so like when we're while we're doing this, when you're in any type of spiritual container, it is like give yourself grace. It's not about being perfect. It's not about fixing how you speak. It's really about awareness. And more important than awareness, it is about intention, you know? And it is about knowing that with great intention comes great things. And again, not about being perfect. It's about, we're here to collect tools. We're here to explore more about our own power. And this particular exploration is all about our power. This is all about me telling you how powerful you are so that you hopefully can unlock something even more powerful within you or fine tune your power even more or understand or level up your sense of worthiness and ability and capability even more as we explore how powerful our words are together. So it's not about perfection. I want to say that it is not about reading every line or knowing about what every word means or what every word says. It is about knowing that and accepting the fact that we are divine beings. And I do believe that a lot of spiritual work is there to just, and we say this often, like let you know who you already are. It's not about changing and not necessarily becoming. Like the becoming is more like a butterfly coming, a butterfly being cocooned from the caterpillar. You already were, you know we just sometimes have to go through these cocooning seasons to be able to chrysalis and come back out on the other end as these uh, even more realized beings. So that's it for tonight. I am about to post the next part of the series. So let me go to my drafts right quick. So yeah. So tonight, as soon as I'm done, I am going to wrap up the edit on the art of scripting post. You all will have that. After that, we're going to talk about the power of 369. And I cannot wait to hear your thoughts. Again, thank y'all for tapping in with me. Do not forget to comment and definitely share your journey with the community. People love to hear everybody's stories. There's nothing like, and if you think, sometimes we think it's not significant to say something, or something we say or not, it's not going to be significant. It always is. So, share. I want to hear. I don't know. I love y'all. See you later.